Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are cracking open a set of sources that are, well, they're essentially an owner's manual for your brain.
That's a great way to put it.
A kind of shortcut to living without the limits you've probably put on yourself without even realizing it.
We are diving deep into Psycho-Cybernetics. It's a foundational concept developed by Maxwell Maltz way back in 1960, and his background is actually the key to the whole thing. He was a plastic surgeon.
Absolutely. And that's where it all started. Maltz noticed these radical personality shifts in his patients after successful cosmetic surgery.
But here's the wild part.
Here's the kicker. Yeah. Some patients who had perfect surgeries still felt disfigured. They had this sort of phantom limb effect almost.
Because their internal self-image just hadn't caught up to the physical change.
Right. And then, on the flip side,
Maltz found that a few people who didn't even have the surgery but just imagined it, just embraced the possibility.
they saw huge boosts in confidence
Yeah.
and performance.
Exactly. He realized the problem and the solution. It wasn't the scalpel. It was all about mastering that mental blueprint, the self-image.
So the mission for us today is to unpack this central, honestly astonishing idea that the human mind and nervous system function like a giant, impersonal, goal-striving machine.
A servo mechanism, that's what he called it.
A servo mechanism.
Yeah, and you should think of it less like a thinking brain and more like an autopilot system. It's an impersonal creative engine that just constantly steers toward the goal you give it.
It doesn't judge. It just acts.
It just acts. Its only job is to close the gap between where you are and that target image.
And this is where the programming part is so crucial. This machine,
Yeah.
it doesn't have an ethical compass, does it?
Not at all. It doesn't care if a goal is good for you or bad for you. If you feed it positive, desirable goals, we can call it the automatic success mechanism, the ASM.
Right.
But if you program it with self-condemnation, with fear, a constant loop of past failures, it works just as efficiently as the automatic failure mechanism, the AFM.
So it will faithfully execute the command to fail, to procrastinate.
To sabotage opportunities, yeah.
Oh.
Because that's the instruction it was given.
And the gatekeepers for this whole system is the self-image.
That's the filter.
So if you set a goal,
Mm-hmm.
say a shy person wants to become a charismatic public speaker.
Yeah.
But their self-image says, no, you're fundamentally awkward.
The mechanism will reject it, or it'll find a way to sabotage it. The goal is just too inconsistent. It's only when you shift that underlying self-image that goal achievement moves from being difficult to being easy.
I love that phrase from the sources. Once difficult, now easy. It's like the promised land.
It signals that the internal fight has stopped. The struggle isn't about willpower. It's about a disconnect between the conscious goal and the unconscious self-image that's running a totally different program.
Okay, so to help us visualize this potential, Maltz uses a really clear analogy.
Yeah.
It's two boxes, right?
Two concentric boxes, yeah. The outer box is a solid line. That represents your real limits, laws of physics, biology, what's actually impossible.
And the inner box.
The inner box is a dotted line, and that represents your self-imposed limits, the ones built up from years of criticism or dwelling on failures or just adopting fear-based beliefs.
I think we all recognize that inner dotted line. It's that voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not good enough to write that book, or you'll never be able to negotiate that deal.
Right, and the space between that dotted line and the solid line, that is what the sources call your underutilized potential.
So Psycho-Cybernetics is basically the instruction manual for erasing that inner dotted line.
Exactly. It's about convincing your servo mechanism that those artificial limits are just false, so your true potential can finally surface.
Okay, so if this mechanism is like a guided missile, does it just aim straight? It sounds like we should just set the goal, launch, and watch it go.
I wish. But we know life is messy.
Success is never a straight line.
And that's one of the most reassuring parts of this whole system. A self-guided torpedo doesn't find its target by flying perfectly straight. It finds it by constantly making errors and correcting course. It moves in a series of zigzags.
Which means the default operating mode for success actually includes failure.
It has to.
Wow. Reframing error as just data. That has to be the hardest mental shift for most people to make.
It is. We're taught that mistakes are bad, that they're setbacks. But the sources are clear. Errors are essential.
They're essential.
Negative feedback data, they are used for course correction. They're a means to an end, not the end itself. The successful pattern gets remembered and imitated. The errors are acknowledged, corrected, and This is critical. They have to be forgotten.
So dwelling on past mistakes is like,
It's like purposefully feeding your failure mechanism faulty navigation data. You're just programming it to repeat the error.
and what separates our human servo mechanism from an animal's instinct?
Our creative imagination. An animal is stuck with its built-in goals, survival, reproduction, but we have the power to create and direct goals that are totally unique to us.
Designing a bridge, becoming a concert pianist.
Anything. That creative power is the ignition key to the automatic success mechanism.
The imagination as an ignition key is a powerful idea. How deep does that power actually go? The sources suggest mental practice is almost the same as the real thing.
It's a bold claim, but it's been backed up by modern sports psychology for years now. The nervous system, in a lot of ways, doesn't really distinguish between a vividly imagined, detailed experience and an actual physical one.
So when you rehearse something perfectly in your mind,
The nervous system lays down those neurological pathways just as if you were physically doing it.
wait, hold on. The nervous system doesn't distinguish between real and imagined. That sounds pretty radical. Is the source saying I can mentally practice for a marathon and just skip the running?
That's a great question because it's not about skipping the physical work. It's about optimizing the mental programming. The mechanism needs both things. It needs the mental map, that image of success, and the physical effort. But the point is that the mental training is half the battle.
It reduces the friction, the doubt.
Exactly.
The classic example is in golf, right? Jack Nicklaus.
Jack Nicklaus, yeah. He said he never hits a shot without first seeing a really sharp picture of the ball's trajectory, where it lands, and then visualizing the swing that makes it all real. He programs the outcome first.
And this theater of the mind, as they call it, applies to everything.
Everything. Think about sales or a tough negotiation. If you mentally role-play it, work out the answers to objections before they even happen, the real thing can feel like déjà vu.
Because you've already taught your ASM the script for success.
You've already won. And the simplicity is so encouraging. The source literally says, if you can remember, worry, or tie your shoe, you can succeed with Psycho-Cybernetics.
And we spend so much time worrying about the future, which is really just negative visualization, isn't it?
It's the exact same mental muscle. If we can worry, we can visualize success. The power is already there.
And this connects to a broader idea, doesn't it? About where ideas come from.
It does. The sources link this to thinkers like Emerson and Edison. They believe that solutions kind of exist in this collective space, and we can access them when the conscious mind has wrestled with a problem intensely, and then, and this is the key part, let's go.
That makes me think of that story about Louis Agassiz, the scientist.
With the fossil fish, yeah.
He struggled for days to decipher this fossil impression, so he just delegated the problem to his subconscious.
And he finally got the complete image of the fish in a dream, didn't he? It allowed him to confirm the fossil's identity. His ASM delivered the answer the moment his conscious effort stopped blocking it.
And that kind of delegation is only possible if you trust your own mechanism to deliver. Which brings us to the power of belief.
Yes, the extreme power of belief, which can literally hypnotize us into accepting a false self-image.
We often overlook how powerful belief is, especially false belief. You see people acting in ways that are totally self-destructive, but it's consistent with who they think they are.
There's that historical account of the man who aged like 20 years overnight because he believed in a voodoo curse. But then he reversed the aging when he found out it was false.
That seems extreme, but the source uses it to make a point.
The negative spell we cast on ourselves operates on the exact same psychological principle. If you believe you're chronically disorganized or bad at public speaking,
Or just unlucky in love.
your ASM will execute that goal. It has to, just to be true to yourself.
And this whole cycle is often maintained by anxiety, by trying too hard.
Excessive conscious effort, yeah. William James had some great advice on this. He said, use anxiety for planning, for deciding. But once you start to execute, you have to dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome.
Because trying too hard is like trying to manually steer the guided missile.
You jam the system. You inhibit the creative automatic mechanism. You set the destination, but the moment you try to guide it millisecond by millisecond, you're done.
Okay, so if we look at the symptoms of a jam system, the sources give us a handy way to remember them. The letters of the word failure.
Right. So F is for frustration.
Where does that come from?
Frustration often comes from setting goals that demand perfection. Maltz described this vice president who was incredibly successful but felt perpetually frustrated. Why? Because he believed he should be perfect.
And perfection is an impossible target. The servo mechanism is designed for course correction, which means
It's designed to be imperfect, so trying to be perfect is just a guarantee for misery.
next up is I for insecurity. That feels pretty pervasive today.
Insecurity comes from judging yourself against someone else's norm, looking at their highlight reel and comparing it to your behind the scenes. You'll always come up short somewhere.
And you start to feel like you don't deserve success.
The feeling of inferiority is what handicaps us, not actual inferiority. The solution is to stop comparing and start aggressively affirming what you are and what you can do,
And L is for loneliness.
which is a symptom of being alienated from your true self. When the self-image is negative, you pull away from people because you feel like you have nothing to contribute.
So the cure is engagement.
Aggressive involvement. Force yourself to mix and mingle. Reconnecting with others is how you reconnect with yourself.
So if we've been hypnotized by these false ideas, how do we break the spell? It's not just willpower.
No, willpower just creates more tension.
Yeah.
Change beliefs with other better ideas. You have to challenge them. Ask yourself, is this belief that I'm awkward or unskilled? Is it based on an actual fact or just an assumption I picked up years ago?
And if it's an assumption,
You mobilize a strong emotional response, constructive indignation, get angry at the lie.
like Alfred Adler or Clarence Darrow did when they were challenged.
Exactly. Anger, when it's channeled right, is a powerful liberator. It gives the system the energy to reject the irrational belief.
Okay, this brings us to the really practical part. How to achieve more with less stress by managing this whole system properly. Step 1 is delegation.
Right. Your conscious mind's job is simple. Identify the problem, define the goal, ask the question. Then you delegate the solution to the ASM. Don't try to solve all the complex details consciously.
It's like that General Patton quote.
Tell them what to do and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. Your internal mechanism is that capable team.
But while the ASM is working in the background, we still have to function in a high-stress world. So how do we reduce the tension that jams everything up?
You practice daily relaxation. The goal is to create a relaxed attitude that becomes your new normal. This could be recalling peaceful memories or a simple exercise like imagining your legs are made of heavy concrete.
Just to remove the emotional tension that locks up the creative machinery.
Exactly.
What about that overwhelmed feeling, trying to multitask everything at once?
That jittery feeling is almost always caused by trying to do the impossible everything right now. The solution is so simple. Stop trying to do many things at once. Concentrate all your awareness on the one task at hand. You can only do one thing now.
And the last big practical step is about decisiveness.
Yes, the art of it. We wait for absolute certainty for the perfect choice, and it just leads to paralysis. The truth is, most decisions are inherently right or wrong.
Success comes from action and course correction, not from waiting.
Right. The mantra is, we make decisions, then make them right. Just take the step. Let your servo mechanism handle the zigzags.
And to really lock all of this in, we have to cultivate what the sources call the winning feeling.
This is the final acceptance phase. It's about adopting a new identity mantra. I am the kind of person who
And you fill in the blank.
stays calm under pressure,
Finishes projects.
deserves happiness. When you internalize that phrase, your servo mechanism has to conform to that new truth because its primary job is to be consistent with the self-image.
So let's bring this all together. Everything we've talked about, mental picturing, fighting frustration, it's all really a search for truth. Uncovering your true potential, your authentic self.
And the core reward for all this isn't just success. It's what's called adaptation energy or life force. The ultimate promise is more years of life and more life in your years. A positive, goal-oriented mindset keeps you youthful, resilient.
The artist Salvador Dali, funnily enough, depicted Psycho-Cybernetics as this transition from a world of shadow, a small, shrunken self, to a world of sunlight, a tall, strong self.
And he noted that you don't reach that peace of mind by moving away from reality, not through escapism.
But by moving aggressively toward reality.
That's the ultimate challenge. If your automatic success mechanism is truly fueled by the truth about your potential, this raises a really important question for you, the listener.
What specific limiting fact about your current abilities, that inner dotted line, are you ready to aggressively uncover, rationally reject, and embrace the truth about today?
Use your indignation, use your imagination, and start moving that dotted line outward.
That's all for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.